Hi, hello, and welcome back to the Lunar Womb Portal, a sacred space for women to journey through womb wisdom, cyclical living, moon magic, herbal medicine, and feminine remembrance. Here, we reconnect with the body's rhythms, honor the wisdom of the cycles of our womb, nature, and the moon, while remembering the power that has always lived within us. I'm Luna Rhiannon, your guide through the portal, and each week we'll journey through the intersections of women's health, spirituality, and the sacred feminine. So light a candle, grab your tea, and settle in. The portal is open. Welcome back, goddesses, witches, and gorgeous, gorgeous girls. As always, let's start with a cycle check-in. I am currently on day 17. I am definitely ovulating. I felt some middle schmerz pain yesterday. If you don't know what that is, that's ovulation pain. It was more so on my right side, but I did feel it a little bit on my left as well. So kind of just like cramping, I guess. And very, the fluid is fluiding, okay? The wop is whopping. You ever just like, when you're ovulating, you ever just like stand up and it all just like kind of starts running down your leg and it's like just, waterfall, like insane, okay? I don't know about anybody else, but that's definitely my experience on ovulation time. It's also interesting because I've just been feeling more, like I've been super tired recently. Like I've literally been sleeping in until right before it's time for me to go to work in the morning. I work from home, so it's like totally fine. But today and yesterday, like I felt more awake. I still slept in some yesterday, but this morning I got up and took the dogs on a walk. One of the cats followed. One of my dogs is chewing on a stick right now, laying with one of the cats. Freaking adorable. But we actually got up with the sunrise and went on a walk, got some exercise, got our bodies moving. And, you know, I'm walking and I'm like, yeah, I want to start doing this every single day. And that's how I know I'm ovulating. It's when I start telling myself that I want to do something every single day. And then I start to do it for a couple of days. And then we shift into the luteal phase. And all of a sudden I want nothing to do with any of it. So we're still working on cyclical consistency and trying to create habits and actually stick with them. Not against my cycle, but with my cycle. So that's definitely something that I'm trying to figure out. I'm so sorry if you hear the dog in the distance. That just sounds like it is screaming and crying. I have no idea what's going on. It's like way far away from me, but I feel like you can hear it in the video. It stopped now, thank God. Has anyone else noticed the mimosas blooming? If you live in Georgia, mimosa trees are literally everywhere. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look them up. The mimosa flower. The leaves look very fern-like, and the flowers are literally, they're pink. They smell divine. Like one of the best smells I've ever smelled in my life. And the flowers themselves, it's not like a flower, it's like fur almost. Like it's like so soft. It's, oh my God, it's amazing. And they're beautiful. They're like this pink, white, purple, like absolutely beautiful. And they're actually a great hormonal support as well. Mimosa tincture is amazing, especially for like seasonal depression. It's a really good mood booster. I have taken it in my follicular phase and noticed some shifts and changes in my cycle. I can't pinpoint exactly what it is in this moment. I'll have to go back through my notes and my cycle charts. Oh my God, I might not be able to do that. God. So the Read Your Body app is the app that I use to chart my cycle. And by chart my cycle, I mean like input my basal body temperature, my cervical mucus, my cervical position, and all other symptoms, and actually see the charted up and down of my cycle. I had 5 years worth of cycles on the Read Your Body app, and I forgot my encryption code, which this was really kind of frustrating, if I'm being honest. They have an encryption code, and it's anything from 4 numbers to however many letters or whatever. It could have been a number of passwords, and no, I do not write my passwords down. So I'm always forgetting my passwords, and it's always helpful for something to have that forgot password setting where you can, recreate your password if you forget it, because I'm one of those people who forgets it a lot. Okay, maybe this is just a me problem, but this is still frustrating regardless, because with any other app or any other whatever, you can reset your password. And with the Read Your Body app and the encryption key, if you don't remember your encryption key, you literally cannot get back into the app. So the app glitched out on me one day and literally was saying that I needed to re-download it or something, but there was no updates and it wouldn't let me do anything. So as a reset for an app, as one does, I deleted the app and re-downloaded it, thinking that that might fix it. And all that did was completely log me out of my account and make it to where even with my email address and password, if I don't know my encryption key, I can't get in. So I lost 5 years of charted cycles because I didn't remember my encryption key. And that in and of itself is insanely frustrating. So I basically had to start charting over again on the app. I have no data from the last 5 years, and that is so heartbreaking. And this is why I encourage women to chart on paper. And I need to take my own advice and start charting on paper again, because clearly relying on technology to hold my information and allow me to access my information, I just need to have it on hand, apparently. So we're going to go back to paper charting. Honestly, I rather enjoyed paper charting. A hawk is flying over right now. Perfect timing. I need to go back to paper charting, and that was my confirmation. So I honestly rather enjoyed paper charting, especially when I first started charting my cycles. Because I like to do 4 different color pins when I'm charting the menstrual cycle. And let's just jump into the episode, here we are. This is what I wanted to talk about today, was charting your menstrual cycle. So there are 4 different phases of the menstrual cycle. The menstrual phase is phase 1. I know everybody always refers to the follicular phase as phase 1, but day 1 of your cycle starts on day 1 of your period. So the menstrual phase is really phase 1. Then we have the follicular phase, the ovulation phase, and the luteal phase. Most women and girls are very familiar with the menstrual phase and the ovulation phase, especially when you get into, becoming a woman, right? You kind of have to know about these 2 things. But the thing that a lot of people don't know is that our ovulation window is the shortest phase of our cycle. During the ovulation window, you have about a 6-day window where sperm can survive in the cervical fluid for up to 5 days, and your egg is released in ovulation within 24 hours, basically. And so you have 3 types of cervical fluid during this time. Usually it'll start out like this creamy, lotiony kind of, you've probably seen it in your underwear. That is the first sign that you are shifting into ovulation. That is called your point of change. During this time, while you're seeing this cervical fluid, or this would really, in my opinion, be cervical mucus, and then the next one would be cervical fluid. You'll see why when I'm explaining it. I might throw some pictures in here somewhere if I can. But that would be more of a cervical mucus. So when you start to see that creamy, lotiony textured, people call it discharge, but it's cervical fluid. When you start to see that, what your body is actually doing is starting to release the barrier that is created from your cervical fluid. It's starting to thin that barrier and allow sperm to flow through, right? Because we're approaching ovulation, so we want to allow sperm to come through. This particular type of cervical fluid, this sticky, lotiony texture, right, is filtering out abnormal and slow-moving sperm so that it does not enter the cervix and it does not reach the egg. The second type of cervical fluid that you will see during ovulation is peak cervical fluid. This is stretchy. This is like very similar to arousal fluid in texture. So it is like stretchy. It is like wet. It is WAP material, okay? This cervical fluid under a microscope looks like fern leaves. Like, it literally looks like nature, and it is so beautiful. So beautiful. I'm going to try to add a picture here if I can. This type of cervical fluid is what the sperm travels with to the egg. Because once you start to feel that fluid, and I can't say for sure because not a lot of times, but in some cycles, especially cycles like PCOS, what is now PMOS, the long, irregular, like 35 or more day cycles. These cycles are longer and more irregular because sometimes the body is trying to ovulate and is unable to for whatever reason. There are a lot of reasons why the body would suppress ovulation. But it's like the body is trying to ovulate multiple times in the cycle because you can't have a period unless you ovulate. There are stipulations to that. You can have a period, but it is not a true menstrual bleed unless you've ovulated. Anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is that when you start to see this cervical fluid, you know that within the next 3 days or 5 days, we'll give it honestly, of kind of seeing this fluid. Within the next 5 days, you are going to ovulate. And sometimes it may not even be that long. Sometimes it is 3 days from when you see that fluid. So within the next 3 to 5 days, you are going to ovulate. That is what this is indicating. Once you have ovulated, the cervical fluid will start to return back to that sticky, lotiony texture. A lot of times it won't even really get there. It will just kind of go to dry. And dry is like when you wipe, there's no cervical fluid there. This is normal. Okay, this is normal. Your luteal phase and your follicular phase are dry phases. So ovulation is the only phase where lubrication is readily available. Okay, because this is the phase that our bodies are basically wanting a pregnancy. And thus, why this is the only phase in our cycle where we can get pregnant within a 6-day window, and that being the only time in our cycle that we can get pregnant, because this is the only time that an egg is being released in ovulation. Ovulation only happens once throughout the cycle. After ovulation, we shift into our luteal phase. The luteal phase is the longest phase of our cycle, and this can be anywhere from 10 to 14 days is a healthy luteal phase, so it's just at 2 weeks, okay? This is the phase that a lot of women experience PMS, rage, intense emotions, feeling overwhelmed by the smallest tasks, feeling frustrated, irritable, angry for seemingly no reason, right? Seemingly no reason. Your luteal phase is the phase where the hormone progesterone starts to be produced. Now, counter to what I just said, progesterone is the calming hormone. You heard that right. Progesterone is supposed to calm your body when it is being produced sufficiently. Okay? When we are not making enough progesterone and our estrogen levels are higher in the luteal phase, this is where that counteracting happens, where we feel irritable, we feel annoyed, we feel frustrated. Okay, and we have all of these feelings. Everything is just feeling so much. And there is no calm, right? But when we can nourish the body in a way where progesterone can naturally produce itself in the ways that it needs to, the luteal phase is a phase of wisdom. This is the phase where your body cannot lie. Your emotions cannot hide. Okay? This phase is bringing up all of the things that you suppressed throughout the first half of your cycle. So everything in your follicular, your ovulation phase that you said yes to, that you really didn't want to, the things that you let slide, the disrespect or the shady comment or whatever, all of that stuff starts to come up in this phase to be processed so that it can be released with the menstrual phase. So when the luteal phase happens and we dismiss our feelings or we dismiss our intuition, it will show up as anger. It will show up as frustration. It will come out, okay, as rage. And that is the kicker of this phase, is it's showing you all of the things that you're actually not okay with, that you're just letting happen because you're more open to the world in your follicular and ovulation phases. These are your external phases. The luteal and the menstrual phase are internal phases. So in the luteal phase, you're pulling your energy back from the world and shining that light within yourself and illuminating all of the truths that you have been suppressing throughout your cycle. And these have to come up right now because you have to feel them. You have to process them so that you can properly let them go, consciously let them go while you are bleeding. That is the purpose of your menstrual phase, spiritually, energetically, emotionally, mentally. That is the purpose of your menstrual phase, is to assist you with releasing all of the stagnant energy that sits in your womb. Because as women, we hold our emotions, our energy in our womb, in our sacral chakra. This is why when we start to feel depressed, or when we start to focus more on something else and not taking care of ourselves, the first thing that goes is our creativity. The first thing that goes is our sexual energy, our sexual desire. Because that is where those emotions are heading. And when we don't allow ourselves to process them, or we stuff them down and suppress them, we are pushing them into the womb. And it is clouding up and crowding up this space. And you don't have any room for desire. You have no room for creation. You have no room for expression because you're stuffing everything down. And that's why this phase is so important. Another thing about the luteal phase is that we actually have neuroplasticity in the luteal phase, which means that we have the ability to rewire our neural pathways in the luteal phase by choosing something different, by choosing our intuition, by choosing a new habit, by choosing a new thought, a new action. That sets us up for success in the next cycle. The reason that I recommend to chart your cycle instead of just tracking your cycle, because these are two completely different things, okay? These are two completely different things. Charting your cycle is paying attention, going within yourself, and really looking at what is happening for you emotionally, mentally, physically, energetically. How are you feeling? How are you doing? What are you interested in right now? What are you not interested in? Because our ability to experience pleasure, okay, to also changes throughout the cycle. Your cervix shifts throughout your cycle. Around ovulation, it's a little bit lower and it's open. And during the luteal phase and the follicular phase, it's higher in your body and it's more closed. So because your cervix moves throughout your cycle, that affects your pleasure, your intimacy, your sex life. During the follicular phase and the ovulation phase, you're probably feeling more turned on easier. You're probably able to think about something that your partner does and just want it. You know what I'm saying? Especially during ovulation. But during the luteal and menstrual phases, a lot of times we are more adverse to it. We're not as ready to go as we are in the other two phases. And that's why it's so important to notice that ovulation shift into luteal, so that you stop thinking that something is wrong with you or your libido or your desire or your ability to be desired, and understand that it is just the shifting energetically into the next phase, the flow, the transition into the next phase. During ovulation, orgasm is a lot easier to reach, okay? And during the luteal phase, not so much. It's not impossible. It just takes a little bit longer. It just requires slower, softer. Ovulation is more like hands-on, let's go, take me away, and the luteal phase just requires a little bit more connection. And I think that's where a lot of men, and I mean women as well, because women don't even understand this about our own bodies a lot of times. So this is where a lot of men miss the mark, because they don't recognize the shift, because they don't see the energetic change in her body. They're not connected to that energetic shift, that energetic transition, that flow into the next phase. They don't see, because it's not external, it's an internal thing. So they're not seeing that, your breasts are a little bit more tender in this phase. So, less biting, more kissing, and you're not ovulating. So lubrication is not just right there ready for you. It requires actual arousal, right? So it's not that you're dry. It's just that you're not aroused. In ovulation, everything arouses me. So it's it's inevitable for me to just feel that way during ovulation. So I just find it really interesting that we're in an era where women are starting to understand their bodies and starting to understand their cycles and starting to understand all of the changes that encompass these transitions, these phases. Because this isn't something that we always had access to. And so I want to really hone in on charting your cycle for pleasure and prevention. And this is prevention of pregnancy. With the era of the world that we're living in right now, with women's autonomy at risk, women's health is just all over the place right now. We have no idea what's going on with abortion laws and all of these things. There's a bill being proposed in North Carolina right now that is literally saying that if a woman tries to have an abortion, you can use deadly force to stop her from killing the fertilized egg, because they're saying that life starts at fertilization, and I put that in quotes. Life does not start at fertilization. Life starts at conception, implantation, when the embryo actually starts to grow. Regardless of when life starts, if a woman chooses not to create life, she should have the choice to participate in health care that is going to assist her with whatever choice she is making. Abortion is health care, and that's final on that. I don't care what anybody has to say about that at all. This is not my opinion. This is a fact. And that's just what it is. So going back to charting for pregnancy prevention, right? Understanding your fertile window is how you prevent pregnancy. Understanding that you can only get pregnant within a 6-day window every single cycle, and that you have the ability to tell when that is. Your body is literally letting you know when that's happening so that you can prepare, so that you can act accordingly, right? So if you start to see cervical fluid, the sticky lotiony stuff, and especially the stretchy, stringy WAP, okay? When you start to see that, refrain from having sex entirely. That is the best way to ensure that you do not get pregnant within this 6-day window. That is very difficult, okay? Let me tell you, as a married woman, okay, it is extremely difficult to stay away from my husband around that time, okay? So I get it. It's easier said than done, right? If you cannot refrain from having sex during ovulation, which, girl, I don't blame you, okay? I do not blame you. If you cannot refrain, use protection, use condoms, right? Or if you absolutely are just balls to the wall, like, it happens kind of energy, my go-to is a yoni steam within 48 hours of sperm in vagina, okay? So if sperm gets inside of you and you do not want to get pregnant, within 48 hours of that encounter, do a yoni steam. Herbs like mugwort, motherwort, rose, rosemary, ginger. Those are definitely some that I would recommend as far as right after ovulation steaming. And then do another steam 2 days before you expect your period. I love to align this with the lunar cycle. So depending on where I am, where I start my period in the lunar cycle, I try to line up my yoni steaming with the phases of the moon. So the new moon, the first quarter moon, the full moon, the third quarter moon. I try to line it up that way. But if I can't, then aligning it with your cycle is also like the best way to do it, because that's your actual menstrual cycle. So it just depends on when you are bleeding with the lunar cycle and like where that is for you. And yeah, so 48 hours after the encounter and then 2 days before your expected menstrual period. Definitely mugwort and motherwort every single time. Yarrow, also amazing. Also amazing. So, those are just some suggestions. That is, honestly, I've prevented pregnancy this way for the last 6 years. I started charting my cycle 6 years ago. Yeah, and every time that it happens around ovulation, I am sure to steam within 48 hours. And if I don't make it within 48 hours, then I do it with the next moon phase. And then I also steam 2 days before my period is supposed to show up. Or I use like a mugwort oil on my womb or something like that. Drink a tea. You know, there's so many ways that you can do this, but charting your cycle allows you to see, because there are a few different things that happen during ovulation. So your temperature drops around ovulation and then rises again in the luteal phase. And when you have 3 high temperatures after that drop, you are officially in the luteal phase and in the clear from ovulation, meaning that you can no longer get pregnant after that 3rd day of the temperature being high and staying high. Your cervical fluid will dry up, and your cervix will go from being low to being high, and from being open to being closed. And you can feel this by inserting 2 fingers, squatting down, inserting 2 fingers, and feeling for the donut. Yeah, I mean, that's really the the best way to describe it, but you just kind of feel it. It's, you know, like this round, you know, it stops you. It's why tampons don't get lost in your body and things like that, right? Like, it's why the penis can only go so far. She is the uterus. The cervix is what opens during birth. So it opens a little bit during ovulation, and it also opens a little bit during menstruation, which is just a fun little fact. And then charting your cycle for pleasure, right, to ensure that you are getting the most out of an encounter. Ensuring that you know what phase you're in. Okay, your cervix is going to kind of move itself out of the way when you are aroused enough, right? And it can take some women anywhere from 25 to 45 minutes to be fully aroused, right? Like whopping it up, waterfall in it, like juicy, ready to go. Okay, cervix up and out of the way. You can go in there, do your thing. Okay, that is when she is fully aroused. And we need to understand that, okay? So charting your cycle for pleasure allows you to see where you are in your cycle, understand which phases you might need a little more time and attention in. You might need a little bit more foreplay. You might need a little bit more, you know, whatever you like, okay? You might need it a little bit slower. You might want it a little bit faster. You might want it a little bit harder, a little bit softer. It just depends on the phase, the mood, the energy. And by paying attention to your body and paying attention to your cycle and charting your cycle in this way so that you truly understand what phase you're in, that is how you get the most out of your pleasure. That is how you experience those deeper orgasms. That is how you experience the depth of your pleasure. That is when you reach your actual orgasmic potential. There are so many different kinds of orgasms. The clitoral orgasm, the G-spot, the A-spot, squirting, cervical orgasms. Okay, squirting and cervical orgasms are the goal. I need every woman to experience those in her lifetime. And if you've had one, let me know in the comments, because girl, okay, okay? Those are my absolute fucking favorites. Okay? If I could do that every single time, I would, and I'm working on it. We're getting there. We're getting there, girl. But honestly, I think that's the episode for today. I feel like I've just kind of yapped on for 35 minutes. I need to go pick up dinner. And yeah, so there's going to be some shifts and changes to the show, just a little bit of housekeeping. We have a new logo. Please tell me that you love it. I love it. I am so obsessed. Oh my God, I'm so obsessed. I love it so much. It literally changed the vibe of the show. So I'm here for it. I love it. We are doing it up. Okay. So starting on the new moon in Gemini, okay, so starting this month, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different with the show. We're actually going to have some structured episodes where I'm not just yapping for 35 minutes. So the new moon and the full moon are going to be the Lunar Womb Portal. That's going to be episodes from the Lunar Womb Portal. I have a lot of amazing things that I want to teach you, educate you on, show you, share with you, experience with you, and I am so excited to get started on this new part of the project. I am in my ovulation phase, like I said, and I'm feeling very creative, so I'm going to try to batch record next month's episodes and make it easier on myself, because in case you didn't know, I record these literally right before I upload them on a random day at a random time, and I do not edit them. I literally just put them out. So but on the first quarter moon and the third quarter moon, I'm going to be introducing a new series called Moonflower. This is going to be a series for teenage girls and moms, where I talk about puberty, your first period, your changing body, becoming cyclical, because before girls go through puberty, they experience the world linear as men do. So they're on that circadian 24-hour cycle. And once they go through puberty and start having cycles, they shift to this 28-day lunar energy. And that is a lot of times why the teenage phase is so intense, so difficult, and teenage girls just get a really bad rap, okay? Teenage girls have a horrible reputation, and it is because nobody understands why. Nobody is taking the time to look at, well, she's literally going from being a girl who is on only a circadian rhythm to being a woman who is not only on the circadian rhythm and has to follow the circadian rhythm, but is also experiencing a 28-day lunar cycle, infradian rhythm. So now she is balancing two different rhythms, two different biological rhythms, instead of just the one. And that is extremely overwhelming. And nobody teaches you about this, and nobody tells you what the hell is going on with your body, and it is insane, and we need to talk about it. So, on the first quarter moon and the third quarter moon, we are going to have the Moonflower series, and that is going to be for teenage girls and moms to learn about their bodies. And I'm also going to be releasing a private podcast for my super erotic goddess witchy babes, okay? If you are interested in learning more about cyclical pleasure, okay, orgasmic potential, learning about the different kinds of orgasms, learning about, talking about sex, okay? We're going to be talking about sex, baby. That is going to be a paid podcast where you will have instant access to all 13 episodes. I'm still debating if I want to do instant access to all episodes or if I want to release one episode a week. So you guys let me know what you think about that. I would be super curious to know your thoughts. But that is the changes that are going to be coming up with this next lunar cycle. So thank you so much for being here with me today. I appreciate you so very much. I love you, babes. I love you so much. Thank you so much for stepping through the Lunar Womb Portal with me today. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a sister, leave a review, or tag me online so we can continue growing this community of cyclical, conscious women that the earth needs now. The portal is always open for us when we drop into our wombs and connect with our hearts. Until next time, honor your rhythms, trust your body, and stay connected to the wisdom within. We'll talk soon.